and I'm hoping that people are. What do I say? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we hear, Camilla.
Oh, I thought I.
All good.
Okay, welcome everyone to today's session. And without wasting any time, I'll allow Casper to do the house rules and then hand over to Dumelo for a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you much, Camilla. Welcome everybody to today's session. We only have a few small house rules for today. We'd like to ask everybody to please mute your cameras to save data and bandwidth. Also to mute your microphones, keep all the background noise to a minimum. If anybody has a question at any point in time, please feel free to raise your hand, or you can use the chat function. And then over to you, Tamila.
Thank you, Meneer Johannes. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating into today's session. I hope you enjoy the session. This is just one of the kind sessions whereby we'll ensure that everyone contributes to the society. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Perfect.
Yes, I can see.
All right. So, my name is Dumelo, and there's Dr. Rose there. She's in house. We've got Anzani, Nadine, and Gabelo, and we've got Casper. This is one of the best team in the world. Once again, welcome. Yesterday, I touched on the International Year of Fruits and Vegetables. I've got some few things that I would like to address concerning yesterday's session as well. Today we'll be focusing on the My 2050 Environmental Calculator. The reason why we're going to focus on the My 2050 Environmental Calculator, it is because it forms part of the robotics and the environment. It forms part of how robotics and environment blend together. And for the upcoming days, I will also highlight the World Environment Day, as well as Ocean Day, as well as the Day to Combat Desertification and Drought. Yesterday, as I mentioned, the relationship of robotics and the environment is that when it comes to this relationship, is so vast in such a way that cherry farmers hire pilots to air dry their trees after it rains so that the cherries don't split open. How amazing is that? But I think this is usually done by those farmers who have money. And then some other farmers, they use drones for planting seeds. The reason being is because when we have a huge hectares of land, it's not usually possible or easy to plant seeds at a short duration of time. So they use drones to plant seeds as well. They just put on a nice bag on next to the drone, making sure that when they tilt the drone in this certain area, that's when it plants seeds. And they also use drones to monitor some of the activities happening in the farm. So some of the activities that can include the likes of your for example, you get your poachers. For example, if you want to see whether is your fence still on point, and if you want to go to areas at a short duration of time, just being on one spot. So this just shows how much robotics are playing a big role within the environmental sciences. And some farmers use drones to apply herbicides, fertilizers, and also to do game counts as well. As you would know that here in South Africa, we are currently busy with census, so game counts falls under that as well. So as you can see here, this is another drone, a specialized drone, whereby they are applying a nice fertilizer there. So you can see that there is a very nice design of it. So instead of the farmers going and hiring people to go and do applying of fertilizers. They rather do other activities than applying fertilizers, which shows that robotics really play a huge role, and in terms of productivity, it is very efficient. Now, I'm going to talk about the environmental days for 2022. So this past month that we left, there was Penguin Awareness Day and World Environmental Education Day, as well as International Zebra Day, which was last month. And then this month, it's all about World Wetlands Day, World Hippopotamus Day, World Pangolin Day, World Whale Day. So into tomorrow's session, I'll just highlight some of the facts about the importance of these days in the February environmental calendar. And I like what I'm seeing there on the month of March, where we have different types. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 environmental days for the month of March. So we have the World Wildlife Day, Solar Appreciation Day, International Day of Action for Rivers, Global Recycling Day, World Frog Day, International Day of Forests. Oh, there's a Human Rights Day, as well as World Water Day, National Water Week, World Meteorological Day, as well as Earth Hour. So what I'll also do, I'll also highlight the importance, giving you facts about each and every day in this environmental calendar. For example, when you look at the likes of the month of April, you see there is World Aquatic Animal Day, whereby just highlighting the importance of aquatic animals, meaning animals that are usually found in the ocean or in the rivers. And then there's World Health Day, the International Plant Appreciation Day, whereby that's when now we have to appreciating our plants and planting more plants as well. And then remember there's Earth Day and Earth Hour, so there's a difference between the two. And also there's World Penguin Day. Those penguins that you normally see on the movies, definitely we also do appreciate those animals as well. So I wouldn't go much on this, but for now, what I would suggest to you participants is that as you are looking at this beautiful calendar with these beautiful environmental days, what I would just say to you is that just make sure that, for example, for the month of March, just select one day that you would like us to highlight, and then we can simply include it in our challenges for robotics as well. Remember, when we include an environmental day into a robotics session, this will also raise awareness of that specific day so that the young children and you as an individual know and appreciate that day as well. Like I said, this is all new, and I'm going to highlight the impact of robots on our environment, how they affect us, and how they contribute to us. But mainly I'll mention how they contribute to us, as I mentioned earlier on during that session. During those previous slides when I mentioned about yesterday's presentation. So here I'm going to raise an awareness of robotics, increasing awareness of the world around us. So this is very simple. The purpose here is to equip you educators, students, trainers, facilitators to coach a robotics team whereby you can include the environmental calendar in your sessions as well. Meaning that you can also come up with ways of how you can contribute to the society of the environment by coming up with challenges that will raise awareness. So here we are not only talking about the environmental calendar, we are applying, we are putting into practice. That is why I'm equipping you. And here, please be brave to ask, use the chat box or the question and answer at the end of the session. And please note that all recordings will be available not at the YAMA site anymore, but at the MOOC portal. That's why you need to register for the ISET Robotics MOOC. I'll show you on the next session that will be taking place at 4 o'clock. Please note that this is just a pilot, building content and resources for a new MOOC. So we're looking for input and contact and participation. So from basics to beyond, an overview. So robotics is the engineering and programming and 21st century skills. Meaning here we'll be dealing with problem solving, creativity, innovation, critical thinking, imagination, and collaborating, computational thinking. That is why, like I mentioned, that it will be very nice that if you have a team of a robotics club, that's when you can include such. I think this will also give you an idea of you appreciating the world around us, especially mainly the environment. But how do we use robotics to create awareness of the world in which we live in? There are many ways to do this. Firstly, here in the ISET Hub, we created a beautiful map. So in this map, as you can see here, we just combined everything into one. We combined a theme. So this started basically in June last year when we had to look at the environmental calendar. So here what we did, we highlighted the World Environment Day on one portion of the mat, and then on the other portion at the top right, as you can see there, that is the World Ocean Day. So as you can see there on the World Ocean Day there, it's blue, so it consists of those plastic bottles whereby we had to highlight the negative effects of plastic pollution within the environment, as well as how they affect the animals there. So there the challenge is to simply make sure that you create a robot that will simply collect those plastic lids away from the ocean. So by you doing this in a team, this also creates awareness to the kids to appreciate such. And then looking there at the bottom there, that is World Day to Combat Desertification and Drought. So here, we just make sure that animals there are freely living, and you can see there are solar panels there as well, just to create that environment of combating desertification and drought. So like I said, the awareness of our environment. Here, I'm just going to focus on the My 2050 environmental calculator. So for those of you who are on the internet, on standby with the internet, I will encourage you just to copy the link there, or to simply say My 2050 environmental calculator, and then I'll go through the link with you in a few minutes. So immediately when you click on that link, this is what you will see. So I'll just show you. So immediately when you click on My 2050 environmental calendar, when you click on it, this is what you'll see. So the purpose of this credit must be given to the Department of Environmental Affairs. This is what they've created and came up with. This is just a scenario that they've created to create awareness of the world around us and to show how our behavior, or rather our actions, influence influence the environment around us. As you can see there at the top there with that red bar, it indicates that 0% of target by 2050 hasn't been met. So now, for example, if I want to make sure that I contribute into the My 2050 calculator, what I'll simply do, I'll just look at my actions. For example, looking at transport technology down here. When I click on transport technology, it'll show me different levels that I need to select on. Please note that when you select the highest level, you contribute more to the environment. For example, here on level 4, it says transportation includes the use of cars, minibuses, trucks, trains, ships, and aeroplanes. We only consider road and rail transport in this calculator. These vehicles mostly run on petrol and diesel, while many trains run on electricity. Petrol, diesel result in greenhouse gas emissions, while electric trains have a high demand of electricity. So this is just to explain of what's happening in the transport technology. So now, if I was to click on choose level 4, you will see, okay, there it says error failed. I think the reason is because it has been running for quite some time. But when I click on this and I say, okay, no background for now, this is a very good initiative for you to trigger that debating sensation from the kids as well. This only is not one of those scenarios whereby kids will just be sitting down and talking, and then you just talk about climate change and that's it. This is where you practicalize it. As you can see there, you've got a train there because of now you are changing your behavior of coming up with an electric train. So now looking here at the bottom, it says transport behavior. When you click on transport behavior, as you can see, the taxi driver is going alone. So now you can talk with the kids and say to them that how about we create a lift club? When we create a lift club, this also changes and contributes into the climate as well. So you can see that immediately when I click on the roof, that's now we have passengers. And those passengers indicate that now they are using one mode of transport and they are reducing greenhouse gas emissions. As you can see there at the top at that red bar, it's calculating. And I hope that it will show us how our actions are contributing into the society. So there are many things that we can include here. These are just examples that I'm showing you. So you can even see when it comes to residential waste, livestock, green buildings, industrial efficiency, as well as solar. When you click on solar, that's now we create our solar panels there as well, generating electricity. When we click on wind, that's when now we create wind panels. So now here, like I said in the beginning, you just ask the kids that what is it that do you see that can be done here? So this is like a sense of you replacing something for another. So instead of removing things, you are just coming up with a very good suggestion. As you can see that just by my actions of changing the normal car that uses a petrol and a diesel to a car that uses electricity, and people using what is this lift club, as well as creating solar panels as well as wind panels. Look at the bar there at the top. It shows that I simply reached 104% of target by 2050. So these are just small actions that I've implemented. I've never implemented the likes of biofuels, nuclear, hydro, gas, and coal. What more when I start putting those? So this is just one of those scenarios that I was showing you, and that it's something that you can also look into with the kids. So without wasting any time, I would suggest you to go through that link, as well as you follow us on Twitter, whereby we'll be posting a lot of information regarding this. And please check the environmental calendar, like I mentioned, so that you can share and debate with at least one group. And then you can email us of any suggestions, and then you let us know how it went by. And don't forget that the environmental calendar is vast. So there's a lot of days that you can choose from that. Otherwise, I'd like to thank you.
Well done, Camillo. That was awesome. Well done. Lots of potential here. On the one hand, to raise awareness of the environment, and definitely to raise awareness of how we can use robotics to support and encourage this awareness. All right, we're open for questions. Anybody got any comments to make? Any suggestions? If I can, whilst you are thinking what your questions are, I can just add, Tumelo has hosted debates with groups of learners very successfully, because then one learner will say, no, we've definitely got to go nuclear, and then they up the nuclear, and then you see what the impact of that is, and then and it's interesting for the learners to see what the impact is on the environment as they change all the parameters. It is a simulation, but it's a good one, because there are consequences. There are consequences to the way we live now for the future and how it impacts on our environment. Yeah, and we can make sweeping statements like we only need to go nuclear and we get rid of coal, but that impacts life on a different level as well. All right. Okay, I've spoken enough. Anybody got some questions or something to add?
In the meantime, you can also check the chat box. I've posted some information whereby you can email us on ISET, as well as follow us on the social media pages. And that's our MOOC portal for you to also check out our recordings as well. And yeah.
I think, Tumelo, we also need to put our 2050 calendar link up there as well.
That will be great as well, yes.
Yeah. Really a worthwhile, and even if you are having just a class discussion, and it gets groups of learners to start talking, maybe they don't know the answer, and maybe they do need to see the impact of it, and so they've got evidence. They can see, whilst they're busy changing parameters, how it impacts on the environment.
All right.
Tumelo, I think everybody's stunned into silence. Nobody's asking anything. Nobody's contributing anything. Anybody? Has anybody seen the My 2050 calculator before? Is anybody that's used it in their classroom or in their teaching?
Should we go around the table for that? Okay.
The virtual table.
Eric, your inputs from today's session. Feel free to unmute yourself.
Eric in Cape Town, you're talking to me?
Yes.
I haven't seen the calendar. I know about some of the days. I was quite blown away by how many days there are. So I'm not that familiar with that at all. I'd like to see, I mean, obviously this is not a new idea. Has there been some, obviously with your MAT and that there's been some robotics challenge attempts.
Yes.
I'd like to see some of those.
All right. I think
so yes, Eric, maybe I can just also add to that. The first Lego League competition always has a real world issue. And what has happened over the years is that they've addressed like litter and animals and people and old people and trash and food security. And this year it's about cargo and logistics. So it is addressing real world issues. And as part of the challenges, WRO, the World Robotics Olympiad, also deals with energy, with litter, with transport. But that's one theme for the year. That is definitely necessary so that learners build up a vocabulary related to the real world issue, and that they also have an opinion about it. What we want our learners to be is to take ownership of the world that we live in. So there are competitions. That was what Tumelo showed. That was a WRO MAT, I think from a year or 2 years ago, which we then modified to suit our purposes. Yes, but maybe Tumelo in the times coming where we need to create awareness of the environmental calendar is to bring out all these old challenge mats, which we have.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's also an option.
Sorry to cut you there, Dr. Holmes. Oh,
awesome.
Yeah, I see Chantel says, yes, please. I would love for the learners to see the My 2050 environmental calendar, as I've been covering global warming. Chantel, I would certainly suggest that you do this because remember, I don't mean to condemn other conferences or webinars. I feel like they are just talking without implementing things. So I feel like now if you were to introduce this to kids as well as let them engage with it, this is how they'll start learning and, you know, get involved in this as well as get more understanding to this. It will also open their minds as well to this.
Maybe Tamilo, you can share your screen again with the 2050 calendar and show how we start, and then show a worst case scenario where we go all nuclear. Yeah, and then maybe just to demonstrate here, the whole thing is dependent on parameter values, and so the learners are then challenged to say, are they going to go all out? So are we going to go no coal, all nuclear, or is there maybe a compromise? There's maybe a hybrid version of it. And with this 2050 calendar, they have the vocabulary to justify why they're changing values moving forward. You'll also notice in the beginning when Tamilo showed this screen, there were people driving alone in cars. And just by putting multiple people into buses, it already has an impact on the environment. Tamilo, do you want to share your screen again?
I'll certainly share my screen. I was just including the sound. I hope you can hear the sound as well.
There we go. Awesome.
Can you hear the sound?
Yes, perfectly.
I love this. So the nice thing about this is that it also includes sound. So it has that nice, for example, as you can see, for instance, hydro. When it comes to hydropower, when I choose level 4, this is differently. Now that top left city as well. So
there's a lot of happy birds in the background.
Come again?
There's a lot of happy birds in the background.
So you can see that just by selecting the calculating is our decision contributing to this, and certainly it is, because look at 13%. And I just like what Chantal said, that this will make kids happy because they feel like when they make a
Tamilo, change nuclear to 4, where we only go nuclear.
All right, Ian. So here, nuclear power, it says nuclear power is not a renewable energy source, but it does not emit almost. The government is planning to build more nuclear power stations. The concerns of nuclear power are high costs to construct and to take out, commission safety and safety and the nuclear waste. You can see that just on the top right next to the sun, that's where we find our nuclear. And yeah. So every action that we have, I mean, I feel like every year it even gets worse when it comes to global warming because of number one, the population is getting high. Number two, people are being ignored. Oh wow, look at the.
There we go. Awesome.
Despite putting power stations this 80%. And this can also pose a lot of debates because remember, nuclear power stations have negative aspects to it, and there are also positive aspects to it. And this is where you can now teach what are the disadvantages of this. So, like I mentioned, when it comes to global warming or climate change, our actions contribute. Like I mentioned, I was to say, why is population increase contributing to climate change? I would say that it's because now we have a lot of traffic happening on the road, and there's a lot of houses, and some houses use electricity.
Tamilo, change transport.
Those that do not use electricity at all, they now start using or burning fire, which I feel like this is a good
Do we have any improvement if we're going to use different transport?
So as you can see with the transport, like I presented earlier on, when you change transport technology, now you're getting the electric using that train.
So we're getting to the solution, but there are costs involved.
Yes.
Okay, 85, there we go.
Definitely, yeah. And here on the green buildings, it's about the materials that are being used. As you see, the buildings are energy demanding. The efficiency of the building depends on how it was built. Buildings can be made to be more energy efficient. Buildings can be designed better to use more efficient construction materials and to be oriented so that the sunlight overflow. Walls can be made to make it so that all new buildings follow or adhere to certain standards.
So that's good.
So yeah, there's a lot to this, and I feel like it's very good that we have such, because this definitely contributes to not only to the environmental sciences, but also to oh,
there we go. Okay, Tamela, you've got a distinction. Thank you.
Oh wow, thanks. I see. I feel like we need to allow Chantal to unmute herself. Please unmute yourself, Chantal.
Yes, hi there. I've also been looking into sustainability in container homes and solar paneling and things like that for offices as well. Is there an option like that on the My 250 calendar as well?
Yes, because you can see that it says residential.
Yeah.
Then let me quickly share the screen here. So there's a one for green buildings and there's a one for residential. So here, I'm not sure whether I'm answering your question correctly, correct me. Here on residential, it says at home, there are many things we do that need energy. This is preparing food, keeping food cold, heating our homes, and bathing with hot water. The sources of energy used for these activities might be electricity, wood, gas, or charcoal. There are also many other appliances that we use at home, such as TVs, irons, and mobile chargers, and so on. So it says here the amount of energy we use at home can be reduced. We can change the appliances to more efficient ones, such as getting a new refrigerator or a stove that uses less energy, and or installing a solar water heater that runs on renewable energy. It is also possible to use appliances in smarter ways so that less energy is required to complete an activity at home. So by choosing this now, meaning that there are less appliances being used and energy efficient appliances. I'm not sure whether I feel like I didn't answer your question correctly there. I just gave you another thought to think about.
Yes, the solar panel, and I think solar energy is the way forward. But also the containers, because you can build houses from containers and office blocks instead of having to use other materials. It's something that's already been used and just reusing it.
Correct. Oh, you mean those storage containers?
That's it. Yes, 100%.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think there are people who are using that. I don't know which side of the country are you at?
I'm in Limpopo, but I've seen it in quite a few different areas. That's actually what I'm going to look into as well.
Nice.
Instead of actually buying a house or, building a house, I think that's, sustainable.
Absolutely.
And it reminds me of what my grandfather built for the one university. He built a mixer for them that mixes polystyrene and cement. Then they make big cement blocks that they can build a house 4 times faster with.
Wow. Cool. Must get some pictures of that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I saw that on a channel in America somewhere with the blocks. It was very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interlocking. It's just like Lego blocks, and it's not that
Yes.
hard to use them. And plus, they're
Yes.
about 4 times the size of a normal brick. So, yeah, like I said, it builds a house 10 times, between 4 to 10 times faster.
100%.
Cool.
Interesting. Thank you.
So this is what Chantal is talking about, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
wow. Oh, that looks quite nice, actually. Maybe we should have our science center in a container.
And they're not very hard to build, trust me.
Cool. Excellent. The houses look quite nice, actually.
Yeah, and also have some here in South Africa in the likes of Bloemfontein as well.
Oh, really?
Yes. They use
Yeah,
them.
there's even one office block here right next to, near my house, where they have such a working office made of containers.
Okay. Cool. Once again, this has been an awesome conversation. Tamela, thank you for presenting. It's been, and I love it when people have contributions to make to a conversation. And maybe everybody just needs to think a little bit further or out the box about robotics and then its application to the environment. And so, Tamela, we look forward to the next installment tomorrow, but I do think it's time we start bundling this up into a environmental science and robotics MOOC, because I think there's lots of rich content that's available here. Yep.
Can I just go through the table so that I just hear the opinion? There's something that I want to achieve on this. Amanda, kindly please feel free to unmute yourself, and can we hear your inputs regarding this session? Or we can go to Spesihle, Fulu, or Hesti. Any inputs, any suggestions? What have you learned? Are we going the right track, or is there something that needs to be highlighted? I see you even have Dorothy from Lambo. Anything else? Mr. Anderson, fun shows.
How's it? Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and
Yeah,
clear.
I think you're definitely on the right track. I'm enjoying this. And I think there's a lot of growth, especially for the learners. And we starting to implement it at our school now. So it can only grow. And as far as the containers go, I'm actually sitting here thinking of getting the school to purchase 2 containers and actually building a computer lab from them that's self-sustainable.
Yeah.
Taking it off the grid on the premises so that they can actually and get the learners involved in building it and setting it up so that when they finish school and they're looking for direction to study in or go into, that they've got that background of that basic robotics and building self-sustainable units.
Great. And I feel like when they start building, or when they are involved in the building process, it gives them a sense of pride, you know?
Absolutely. They take note when they're involved and they're making decisions as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Ms. Nomsa Twala. Nishial.
On that My 2050 energy app,
Yes.
can you just provide some details about what's the levels of best and okay? Where do we get those figures from?
You mean when I click on a certain level and then it shows that it's contributing towards that top bar, the one that I...
Yeah, on the top bar, there's
Yes.
an arrow there with best and another arrow there with okay.
Okay,
can you just provide more information on those targets?
See, it's like I knew that you had a question. Eh? Okay, so yes, you mean here where it says best and then here it says okay.
Yes.
Okay, so as you can see, when I go towards best, this says this is probably the best possible pathway achievable. And then when I say okay, it says we have agreed to achieve at least this target by 2050, meaning that when you now have spoken to your learners and now most of them were like, yeah, now we came to a conclusion. This is when you'll be like, according to the environmental calculator, they're at the top bar. From where we are, it shows that this is the possible best, this is probably the best possible pathway that is achievable.
I understand that, but I need a bit more context as to where these values, where are we getting these values from?
Oh, okay. So these values are generated by calculating here, if I am answering your question correctly. But
No.
like I mentioned, this is from the Department of Environmental Affairs. And when you let me just show you. For example, looking here I'm on level 3. So you can see here it says vehicle efficiency have improved in both road and rail vehicles by 2050, even more so than in level 2. The fuel types will change even more by 2050. Most or 90% cars are hybridized and many are electric buses. And so, yeah, I don't know whether I'm answering your question correctly.
No, actually you're not.
All right. But I think for further information, I can look into that. And then on the next session, I can come up with a nice answer for you.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks so much, Nashel. Anyone declare? Or are we good? Feel free to unmute
I
yourself.
think everybody's gone to go and upload their own version of it to Mela.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I see, is it Gillian? Says that my gadgets have no microphone, no camera, but good stuff being discussed there. Good way to involve kids to environmental awareness. So exciting, and I can't wait to introduce it into my classes at school. All right. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for the questions. Really appreciate the comments as well.
Excellent. Okay, anybody else, last 5 minutes? Anybody got anything to add? I definitely think, Tamela, everybody's going to test it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to kindly ask Nashel to quickly send us an email, and then I certainly, oh yes, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Sorry, Tamela, I just got a little bit of a question regarding the containers in using them for homes.
Uh-huh.
I think currently to build using containers, you need specific machinery for that. The other thing is that getting municipal clearance to build these structures is a bit of a problem because we don't have the current bylaws and stuff for that as yet. Also, if you think about other things like the cooling of those containers when they used buildings, those are all additional costs. Because if you look at current tile roof houses, basically the tiles act as heat absorbers.
Sure.
And then your cooling costs are much lower. So I think when you add all these different facets together, I think it'll be a good debate as to whether these container homes are really.
Yeah, you know, I like what's happening now. Chantel, I think Nashel is debating with you. What's your take on this?
Well, as far as I've done on the research I have done, they have different materials that they use. At the moment, I don't have those names in front of me, but there's also foams that they put inside, which works as a heat absorber. And so then you can also, the way they tile it inside of the container homes, but there's also when you add the solar panels, you can, there's also a lot more ventilation. You don't need to have a closed, it's not like a normal closed container. You can also have more windows, so there's more open air to come through. And so I think with the solar paneling and also the other things that they have been using in the containers. It's very interesting. It keeps it cool and self-sustainable.
All right.
Yes. I just don't have the terms with me. I did have them on a piece of paper, but they're not with me at the moment.
Have there been any studies been done to calculate exactly per square meter as to what's the environmental contribution building with containers versus building with standard materials?
Well, because containers, they're used and disposed of, so they actually become either we have to recycle them, or they get basically crushed and sent to become something else. And so instead of going through all of that and having to have machinery destroy them, they're actually taking the containers and turning them into homes or offices with the different environmental friendly usages to keep them cooler. And also with the solar, you get to have air conditioning using solar panels.
All right. Thank you so much. I feel like on the upcoming sessions, I'll provoke a lot of debate going forward.
Discussion, just discussion.
Yes.
It's all good.
Discussion as well. So
nothing is cast in concrete.
Yeah.
I can maybe add one thing about those containers. They are really insulated, that I can say.
Okay.
Because of the way they are designed. The problem is with me, I know the construction part of it. Because my grandfather, he has one on the farm. So I know how that thing looks and feels in the inside.
Okay.
And how he used it to build everything on his farm also, so yeah.
Cool. No, I think this is room for improvement. We can always change.
Yeah.
All right. Once again, kindly please email us on ISET for any further questions that we might have not answered, so that we do follow-ups on that. Otherwise, thank you from my side. Over to Dr. Host and the team.
Thank you very much. I really need to thank everybody who's participated in this conversation. Thank you, Tumela, for bringing a very interesting conversation to the table or to the session. And we look forward to seeing what tomorrow's session brings. And from all of you, you've got 10 minutes to go and get a fruit, as Tumela would recommend.
Definitely.
And we'll see each other back here at 4 o'clock. Thank you very much. Stay well. And Casper, just remember to stop the recording. All right. Thank you very much. And we'll see you in 10 minutes time. Thank you. Bye-bye.